So next up, we can go into the required skills going into thermaling. What do we need to know beforehand? So before going out on your day of practicing thermaling to your heart's content, what are some of the things that we should know, bear in mind, whatever it is, whatever you can think of, any ideas? So let me unmute everybody there and let's get your feedback. Yeah, feedback into things that we should know before thermaling, or what do you guys think?
I presume you're going to look at the weather.
Yeah, okay, weather forecasting.
And then from yesterday's course, where your inversion layer lies.
Okay.
So can you thermal, in other words?
Cool.
I said in as well, yeah.
All right, so we do that's is the day acceptable for thermaling? It's so the weather's good for this practice. That's cool. Richard, anything from you?
Sorry, just say again.
Any other thing you want to contribute? What skills or what knowledge should we have before going and thermaling?
You should probably know what's causing it, what it is, and some basic, information about what you're going to hit, because it can get quite bumpy, a little bit scary. And I've had some heavy thermals hit me. So yeah, a little bit of preparation, like hold on to your shit, be ready to react.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on to these answers. For me, just in terms of the minimum requirements, and if you are going to go out thermaling with other people, it's critical that you understand air law and specifically the thermaling rules, how to enter a thermal, who has right of way. This is specifically in the thermal. And then on the topic of air law, that is there airspace restrictions where you're flying? So it's quite, we have this out here. You can go and fly from Dutois, from the pass there. And a couple of 100 meters above ridge level, we have an airspace restriction. It's the TMA, so it's from Cape Town International. And it is vital that you do not go and break airspace. So if you are flying in a place, you want to make sure, are there any airspace restrictions? If there are, how high is it? And that's your ceiling. So even if you've got a great thermal that's taking you up, can take you up to 2,000 meters. If the ceiling or the restriction is 1,500 meters, that is where you need to, that is as high as you should go. So actually you should be leaving the thermal earlier before you get to that very top. And it's an important thing because, we are just recreational pilots having a good time. And if we become a threat to commercial aviation, then they will happily shut us down. So an important part there. Let's talk about the thermal rules itself on with regards to air law. So firstly, the turning direction. Who sets the turning direction? The turning direction is set by the first person who enters the thermal. So they've done the work, they found the thermal. It doesn't matter whether they're above you or below you. The first person inside the thermal, so the first person that's making circles in there, sets the direction, and everybody else who joins must follow that same direction. Again, the pilot has done the work, found the thermal, you're now coming to join, you follow his direction. If you are flying in different directions, somebody's turning left and the other person is turning right, it is extremely dangerous because you can have a head-on collision. A head-on collision, a paraglider is flying at about 35, 37 kilometers an hour. You're looking at a collision of 60 to 70 Ks an hour impact with somebody, and that's going to be horrible. So the simple thing is to maintain the direction, and that's why we have air law. How to enter a thermal, and this for me is there's a piece of advice that I read about a couple of years ago. I think it might have been in XC Mag or something like that. when you join a thermal, join such that you see the back of the other pilot's head. So there's somebody inside a thermal, they're doing circles. When you join that thermal, you should be seeing the back of their head. So you're slipping in behind them and going together. If you can see their face, that means they're coming towards you, and now you try and slip in, you're cutting them off. You're risking a collision, and it's just bad form. You will probably get sworn at. Especially here in South Africa, you'll get tuned by somebody if you're going to be doing that. So don't do it. It's a very simple thing. Just look. When you join, see the back of the other person's head, and that means you will be joining nicely. What else I think is critical in terms of practicing thermaling? We spoke about the forecast, and for sure that helps us decide on whether we go and fly wherever it is. But so let's take it as a given. It's flyable. There's thermals, and it's okay. And you're out there now practicing, and even if it's just a house thermal at launch, and you're practicing away, and you get low and you get some climb and you try and work it. The important thing in this is that you have a feeling for your glide angle, knowing that you can make whatever landing it is you want to get to. So if we're thermals typically trigger off something, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But to give you an example, so you could be 100, 200 meters above the ground, and there's a thermal that's triggering off the edge of a forest, and it's going over the forest. When you're doing your circles in there, at any time you must be sure that, look, if I now lose the thermal, that I can make my landing field. I'm not going to now be sitting on top of a tree inside a forest, or landing inside a dam, or going downwind into an object, or whatever it is. So wherever your possible landing is, you want to keep that in mind and make sure that you can get to it. If you're unsure, then you rather leave the thermal and fly out, and hopefully you find another one that you can work. But safety is most important, and this is where the judging of your glide angle to your landing is vital. I've got a picture up over here on the screen, and there's a lot of people inside a thermal there. And in my earlier session this morning, one of the participants was saying, that's what really scares him, flying with lots of people. And yeah, well, it's natural, because flying with lots of people increases the risk in terms of having a collision with someone. So yes, it is scary. I think it's scary for everybody to start off with. But as you get into it, and you actually see that by following things like the turn direction and right of way, it's quite safe. And you want to be aware of your surroundings, but it can be done quite safely by simply following the rules. I would encourage you, when you, if you're comfortable with your flying now, to go for a competition. The Barberton competition that's held in June, July every year is an awesome competition. The word competition it does itself an injustice, because it's not about competing. There's like maybe 5 people who are competing at the top there, and they're the real racing snakes. But for most people, we're out there, you're flying every day. For the junior pilot, you get to practice, whether it's thermaling or your when to take off or whatever it is. And having other people in the sky really helps. So the competition, the way I was explained, the advice I was given is that, you do your basic license, then your next big learning curve comes from the SIV when you do maneuvers, and your next big learning curve comes from a competition. You really learn a lot. And for me, and going back to this picture, when my first couple years of competing, I didn't want to be in any gaggles with anyone. I wanted to fly by myself, because I trusted that if I was flying by myself, there would be nobody crashing into me. And it's something that I've built up over the years to actually be part of these gaggles, and flying as a group is much more efficient than flying by yourself, because you can find lift easier. You've got more people, you actually assist each other. So if gaggle flying is intimidating now, that's cool. Keep on flying. Do what makes you happy. But over time, I would encourage you to get into it, and things like competitions are great environments for it. Any questions? Please stop and go for it.